Okay, today I'm going to show you how I make cloth for my characters. So we're going to use this skeleton, and I want to make this skeleton into a mage. And we have him kind of rigged, not truly rigged, but my way of rigging. If you're interested in how to set this up, there will be a link at the top so that you can watch that video after this one. But I do want him to kind of have a hunchback, so I'm just going to move his head a little like this. Like he has a little hunchback, okay? And this Blender file will be available for my Patreon members. So if you're interested, follow me on Patreon. But yeah, we're gonna go through the steps on how I make like clothing, usually. Okay, so first let's start with the hood. So I just added a plane, and I usually rotate it by 90 degrees so I can see it like this. And then we are going to add our first modifier, and it's going to be a mirror modifier. And we're just going to use the skull as like our mirror point. Okay. And so let's move it in front of the skull. And so that it doesn't like pass through like this, we're going to turn on clipping. Okay. So it'll stop right in the middle. And then we are just going to make a rough outline of a hood, okay? And yeah, this is gonna get really basic, but that's the beauty of this method, okay? Alright, and then I'm just going to take this whole thing and extrude it, maybe scale it up, extrude it, maybe scale it up, extrude it, maybe scale it down, and extrude it. And this looks like super wonky, right? Like some kind of alien, but that's okay. And I usually won't do that. I would spend more time doing that, but I'm just trying to get through this as quick as possible to teach you the fundamentals as fast as possible, okay? So here to kind of like sew this up, I would actually make quads. So we're gonna just extrude this, and then we'll make those 4. And then let's do the bottom. Extrude these 4. Okay, and then extrude, extrude, extrude. Yeah, so 1 more. Okay, and then we just go here and then press F to fill, 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 fill. And that's it. And there's our hood. And you can see that it looks horrible, right? And that's okay, because we are going to fix it up right now. So we go into edit mode, and then we're going to turn on proportional editing. So when we grab a vertex, with the mouse wheel, you kind of change this like sphere of influence. And we're just gonna move like everything around to kind of like represent some kind of hood, okay? So we're just gonna, you know, do our best, do our best. Yeah, I kind of want the hood to like sag down, so I'll go like this. Maybe go up near the shoulder area, like so. Kind of like pop out, but let's go into X-ray mode, see where our skull is. Okay, so this is our skull, so we don't want it to be like too far. Okay, and you're probably saying like, wow, this is the worst tutorial ever, and you might be right. But here is the magic. Okay, so let's say we're kind of happy with this. So the next thing we're gonna do is, but I'm just gonna apply the scale. It's just a good practice to do whenever you work with things when you're like, changing the size of it. Okay. And then the next modifier we're gonna add is a solidify modifier, and we're gonna add the thickness to just 1. Okay, so that it should look like this. And we're gonna add another modifier, and it's gonna be a subdivision surface modifier. And as you can see, it kind of like smooths it out a little bit. And I usually put this at 3 to start. And yeah, this will not do. So we are actually going to go into sculpt mode. And then while holding down shift, we're just gonna like smooth this out a little. It's like, and then I'm in grab sculpt mode, so we can just grab those vertices as well. And you know what? Maybe something like that. Okay. And yeah, he has kind of like a shark fin going on, so I'm just gonna pull that apart a little bit. Okay. So you can see how that's like starting to look more hoodie, right? And yeah, you can play around with it until you're happy. But yeah, work with it until you're happy. I guess I'm happy with this. Okay. And that's where we're gonna leave the hood. So we are going to do the same thing with we're gonna make a little robe. So doing the same thing, we're gonna make a plane, mirror it with the skull, add clipping, and then we're And then just to make this a lot easier, I'm just gonna scale this like so, and then press F to fill. Okay. And then there's our low poly robe. And then again, just to make it, well, let's apply the scale. And then add the solidify modifier, make it one thick, so it's like that. And then we're gonna generate subdivision surface modifier at about 3. And then, yeah, you can kind of fix it up again after you see like the smooth version. But again, like this doesn't really matter too much, so don't worry about it. Why is this like, what's happening here? Okay. That's weird. I must have pressed something. But there's our robe, okay? So how do we do the sleeves? And I'm gonna show you how I would do it, okay? You don't have to do it this way, but this is how I would do it, okay? First, we're gonna add a circle We're gonna scale it up a little bit like this. Go into tab mode. Let's go into vertex select, and then make sure they're all selected. And then we're gonna extrude to this about what we want like these sleeves to be, okay? And then I'm gonna just scale that a little bit so it kind of flares out. And here what I would do is add a loop cut in the middle and then press F to fill, okay? And then select all these at the top and then press F to fill. And then that is our sleeve, okay? So we're going to do a solidify modifier at 1. Okay, you see how like it turned like super big? That's because I didn't apply the scale. So let's apply the scale and it'll be something a little more manageable like that. And then let's do the subdivision surface modifier, go to 3. And this looks a little funky, right? So there is a couple of ways to fix this. Let's hide this for a sec. So what you can do is inset this, and then it'll kind of smooth it out more. Or with these edges selected, you can press Shift E, and it'll kind of pull it toward that edge. But if you go all the way, it'll be like super sharp, so you don't want to pull it all the way. Oh my goodness. So yeah, Shift E, and then to about like right before. And then I'm just gonna bevel it so that it's even more smoother. Okay? That's what I do, but you don't have to. And then I filled this because I don't want, let's actually move it. Scale it down a little. And then I filled the middle because I don't want like this to be that hollow because it will cause some issues later on. So I want this actually to not be too hollow. You know what I'm saying? Like I want there to be like not this, because when you're 3D printing, like having hollow geometry like that will be a little difficult. So I want like the edge to be, you know, a little out, but not all the way hollow. I hope that makes sense. I'm not explaining that very well. Okay. Yeah. And right now this is like perfectly circular, which is fine because we're going to change it later. And yeah, this doesn't have to like line up perfectly with that either, okay? Okay, what about the upper sleeves? All I would do is add a UV sphere. Move it to about there. Scale it up. And then I would go into sculpt mode using the grab brush. Just grab it and like form it around like so. And this again does not have to be perfect, just somewhere close, okay? And that's pretty much our thing. And then this, all we have to do, honestly what I would do is like delete this, okay? And then like Shift D, duplicate it, move it over here, apply the rotation, and then scale it on the X by -1. And then just, you know, do your best to like fit it there. Okay. So now we have our robe. Okay. And then I would actually subdivide the shoulders. But we don't have to go to 3 because it was already kind of, maybe 2 is good enough. Yeah, let's go to 2. Okay, so at this point, I would actually parent these so I could like pose it. Like right now, if I move this arm, like this doesn't move with it, right? So I would actually go like this, isolate it, and oh my goodness. Let's sculpt, grab, expose this a little bit. Okay. And then I'm gonna parent this to this. So when I move this, that moves with it, okay? But I do have to select the arm underneath, right? And then we're gonna do the same thing here. We're gonna take this, select this next, and then Control P to parent it. And then now when we move this, that moves with it. Okay. And then we're gonna do the same thing. We don't actually have to do the same thing. I should have done that before I did the duplication. Duplicate this, move it over here, apply the rotation, scale it on the X, -1, and then put it back to the best of your ability, okay? Okay, so now what we do is we're gonna press A to select everything, Control A, and then Visual Geometry to Mesh. Now this will apply all of the modifiers to everything, okay? Which means this is now no longer like in the low poly mode. Now it's in like a higher poly count mode. And then you see how this is like kind of weird in the, it doesn't matter, okay? We'll fix it. Okay, so now what I would do is, oh, this is it. I'm gonna save this as my like skeleton mage Blender file. So for those people that are interested in getting access to this specific Blender file, this will be available to my Patreon members as well. Okay, so if you want this, check me out on Patreon, okay? So at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in an interesting pose, okay? Okay, so what I'm doing right now is just sculpting the robe a little bit, not like too much, to the pose that I put the skeleton in. Okay, so here is the staff that I made. It's kind of like a twisty, branchy staff with like a little gem on the top. And this will be his weapon. So I'm gonna have him hold it like so. Maybe let's go a little. Yeah. And then we'll have to move. Let's isolate this real quick. We'll have to move the fingers to kind of match what he's holding. So here you want it to clip a little bit, but not too much like this, right? So just do the best you can to do that. Okay. We are off. Let's move the fingers out a little like this. Okay, that's probably fine. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, sure. So yeah, at this point, the skeleton and the staff is fine, but the robe is still not great, right? So what we're gonna do is I'm actually going to have this be. So remember what I said about the sleeve? How I want this like kind of like stop right here. I want the same stop for this too. So I'm going to just select some arbitrary distance and like stop it right there. So when I print this, you'll only see like this and that because we don't want that empty gap like all the way up to like the skeleton, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do after that is we're going to take this and I'm holding shift and clicking all of these and we're just gonna join them. Okay, we're gonna apply the scale and then go into sculpt mode and then remesh, and I usually remesh to 0.07. Now what this does is it combines it into one object. This is fine, we can just smooth it out. It's fine. Holding shift, smoothing it out, okay? But yeah, if we go into this mode, we can see that it got rid of all the intersecting geometry. So the inside of it is completely hollow, which is what we want when we are, 3D printing. Okay, so this is kind of like the post process where you kind of just fix this up to make it look nice. Okay, so you see how this is like completely circular, so we could take the grab brush and kind of just like drag this down, maybe make it a little narrower. Just for cloth, what I found to be effective is to just make it look not so perfect, right? Like those perfect circles, get rid of them, make them, clothy, make it droopy. And then this, you can just hold shift and smooth those places out, yeah, that's pretty much the process. Yeah, you can. This part will be covered up by the hood, so the shoulders don't really matter, but yeah, we're gonna just smooth all this out. Smooth all that out. Smooth all that out. Okay. Smooth that. Okay. So a couple of the main brushes for sculpting that I use is going to be the draw brush, which is V shortcut. The shortcut is V. And with this, maybe 0.5 strength, I just kind of, you know, I kind of free draw like the folds that you might see on clothing. So this part will take some time to master, and I will say I don't have this mastered yet. But pretty much like I said, make it look not perfect, okay? Just add like, you know, some folds, maybe some, nope. Yeah, something like this, something like this. You know what I'm saying? Just make it look not so perfect. And here we have like the knee, so we kind of want this to be like, you know, kind of out maybe. I don't know. And I am not liking how this is looking, so yeah, like I said, just play around with it. If you mess up, you can always Control Z, but yeah. Something like that. And something I usually do is just like smooth it out. Smooth it out. Maybe grab it. But yeah, if you want more creases, you can do a crease brush. And yeah, add some creases like this. But yeah, just you know, make it look nice. But you don't have to like make it perfect, because you know, cloth is like I think honestly that probably looks fine. This is a little too perfect in my opinion, but let's actually, no. Yeah, something like, I don't know, something like that, right? And then let's do the same for the arms. So we're going for like, kind of like a droop here. Maybe something like this. Something like this. Go like this. But yeah, you might look at this and be like, whoa, that is amazing. Or you might look at this and think, whoa, that sucks. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay, because it, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. And this is going to be a miniature, and when you print this out, it's gonna be like this big. It's gonna be like this big. So no one will be able to really tell how bad these like folds are, but I'm just showing you what I do. Okay. So you know what? I'm gonna call this good. I'm gonna call it good. I might want to thicken these lines a little bit. And to do that, I can just yeah, go into, and then let's actually isolate it. Yeah, these are looking a little too thin, so I'm just gonna press I for inflate, and I'm just gonna inflate the inside of it a little bit. And what that does is it'll make it a little thicker. Like right there, it's looking a little too thin. And I'm doing it on the inside, but it's also inflating the outside, but it should be fine. Let's smooth that out a little, but yeah. Yeah, when you 3D print things, you don't want things to be too thin or it'll be, you might get some failures, right? And then lastly, maybe just draw. Yeah, whatever. I'm just gonna call that good. Let's make sure the robe doesn't go below. Yep. Okay, we're fine. Okay, so let's go back into object mode, get our hood, and then we're pretty much gonna do the same thing. So yeah, we will apply the scale and then sculpt it, remesh it to 0.07, remesh, and then let's just smooth it out first. See what we're working with. And I can already foresee a problem where there's too much empty space on the inside. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna start by inflating it around here so that only like the front of the skull is showing. But yeah, like I said, you don't, oh my goodness. If you get weird things like this, you can always Control R to remesh and then work from there. Okay. Actually, let's isolate these two. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to cover this gap. So that when I combine the objects, like the skull and the hoodie here will be hollow. I hope that makes sense. Because if there is even a little bit of the open gap like this, it'll print out like the inside, and that is not what we want. Okay, so one way we can check to see if there's any gaps is by going inside the skull and make sure this, there's no like connections. Okay, so I think we're good. So after all is said and done, let's say you have this model that you want to print, but it is in like different parts. Okay. But to get it ready for 3D printing, you want it to be one solid object with no like intersecting geometry like in between these separate objects. So step number 1 is combine all of them. And this is what I do. This is just the simplest way, so I'm just going to show you the simplest way. Okay, so press A to select all of them and make sure you have one main object. Right click and join. And now you have one solid object, right? Not quite. If we go into X-ray mode, hopefully, you can still see that there's like internal geometry, and we want to not have that at all. So what can we do? So we take this, we are going to apply the scale. Like I said, that's just a good practice to do. Okay, and we're going to go into sculpt mode, and we're going to remesh 2.07 remesh. And this is going to take a while, but what this does is it's gonna, okay, not that long. What this does is it makes it into one solid object, and it kind of recalculates the outside and gets rid of the stuff on the inside. So as you can see, we no longer have like that spine. The feet only go up to here, which is where we had our stop. The arms only go up to here, where we had the arm stop. And yeah, this is now like the inside is all empty. So yeah, now this is ready for 3D printing. You can export it, go to File, Export STL, and then you will still need to add supports to it, but yeah, this is pretty much ready for 3D printing. But yeah, most of my models are for resin printers, so this will not be good for FDM printers. Somebody asked me that before. So yeah, add supports, and this figure will be available for free. This is this will be part of the chess set that I'm making, and I will be using these as my black bishops. So if you're interested, there will be a link in the description down below, so you can download this STL and print it out yourself. My Patreon members will get the pre-supported files as well as the base model. So if you want to put this guy in like a different pose or give him a different weapon, you can do that as a Patreon member. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about is when you do that remesh method, you do get these like jagged edges where like the things like when like two objects are trying to combine. But these really don't affect the print quality in any way because first of all, your miniature is going to be like this big, so like you won't be able to see it anyway. And when the printer tries to print this, it'll just automatically smooth it out because your printer won't be able to print these fine lines. You know what I'm saying? So it'll automatically be smoothed out. So don't worry about these edges. Like before, I used to like go back into sculpt mode and like kind of like zoom in and like smooth it out myself, but really you don't need to do that because yeah, this will be no problem. Okay, I hope that makes sense. That's going to be it for today. I hope you learned something. I hope that wasn't too confusing. I know I'm not the best explainer because a lot of this stuff is really confusing, so I did my best. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.